You have a special in-studio guest today. You want to introduce your guest?
Yeah, we do. And so we wanted to invite someone from a different profession, right, that can talk about things that we kind of talk about with clients that have assets, right? And we talk about, hey, you want to get the right insurance, you want to get the right entity protection if you're a business owner or a real estate investor. And why do you do that? And everybody goes, I don't want to go through all that headache because I'm never going to get sued. I'm never going to have anything bad happen to me. And the reality is we have Daniel Crandall here today that's going to talk about just some of the experience he's is it 40 years that you've been practicing law? Is it
about 45?
45 years? Okay, so I'm
You
wrong.
don't look a day over 51.
I
buddy.
know.
Just saying.
Yes. We want to know the secrets later. We're going to ask for the health secrets later, but Daniel Crandall has been just an icon here in Roanoke Valley and helped so many families and households over the years. So we're excited to have you in the studio today and talk about just your firm, what you've done. And I guess, first of all, I would love to know how you get started. I think I love the stories of I started with 2 pennies. I couldn't, even pay the electric bill, right? Or how was I going to pay the mortgage this month, right? Because I know as a business owner, when you start out, everybody may have this perception that you've got it all together, but you're just trying to make it in the beginning, especially with children and, trying to raise a family and being a sole provider. So love to hear the story. Like, how did you get started and what brought you into practicing law, I guess, would be a good start.
Brian, thank you, and it's a privilege to be here today. My story goes back to really Washington, D.C. I was there. I was the court bailiff while I was going through law school and open court. I would be able to listen to all the cases that were being litigated and ended up clerking for a wonderful judge, Joseph M.F. Ryan, Jr., there in the federally appointed Superior Court. And Judge Ryan said, Dan, once I was ready, finishing up my clerkship, he said, Dan, you do a good job. You're moving to Roanoke. I know some people. Why don't you go with the U.S. Attorney's office there? And so he made some calls for me. I was interviewed, moved down to Roanoke with my wife and 1 child at that time. And when I got here, there was a freeze on federal hiring.
No.
So
Great.
I bought an old house in Southwest there. And during that time, I was waiting for it to open up for a month or so. I began renovating the house. And during that time, the neighbors started coming in. Mr. Crandall, I hear you're a lawyer. Can you help me with this, with that?
Right.
And Brian, I made a little homemade desk and set it up and put a chair in front of it, a dining room chair in front of it. And that's how the law office started.
Wow. That's great.
And it kept growing. So by the time they called me to come on board, possibly with the U.S. Attorney's Office, I was having too much fun practicing law and representing individual, real people.
Okay, great.
So that's how it got started.
So what kind of law were you practicing back then? Just kind of a little bit of everything at that time?
Anything that walked in the door. Dog bites, Social Security, immigration, whatever it was, I could tackle it.
Right.
May I ask where you went to school?
Yeah, I went to University of South Florida undergrad, and then I went to George Mason University Law Center
very cool.
in D.C. area.
So I guess you started out in Roanoke, and then of course you. When did the transition happen to personal injury? When was this big shift of there had to be was there a case that you said I just really love doing this, or was there there had to have been some kind of mindset shift to say I'm not doing any of that anymore, right? I specialize in this niche or niche, however you want to say it. What made you kind of transition 100%?
Yeah,
and you refer to everything out to somebody else, maybe.
What a wonderful question. I started out, like I said, doing everything. And when you're starting in private practice, I took a lot of court-appointed criminal defense work. And we ended up doing a lot of that and took some very serious cases involving many millions of dollars of drugs and so forth, and some serious injuries to some of the government witnesses. And we got involved with it and enjoyed it for a number of years. But it ended up we had my last case I did, court appointed, was there were 45 automatic weapons involved.
Ooh.
There were pounds, kilos of pure cocaine involved, and there were threats on some of the lives of the people that were involved. And I said to myself, I really don't, my family was growing at that point, and I said to myself, I really don't want to keep doing this line of work. And so I got out of the court-appointed work. I was able to do it at that time. We were doing mainly domestic relations, bankruptcy, and personal injury. And, of course, domestic relations helps a lot of people, but it's very messy, very emotional. So that was the first thing I tried to work my way out of. So we got out of the domestic relations. Then I was just doing personal injury and bankruptcy. And finally, about 20 years ago, we were able to drop the bankruptcy portion of it and continue with personal injury. And I like personal injury because it's a clean practice of law. You're clearly helping people. It has definitive starts and finishes to it. If you don't file in 2 years, you're out of court. So you got time constraints, and your cases move along very nicely, quite rapidly.
I see. Okay.
And a very satisfying practice of law, area of law to practice. You're seeing people come in hurting, confused, not knowing how to pay their bills, where they're going to get money for their rent. And you really can see a direct correlation between what you're doing for them and helping in their lives.
Gratifying.
Very gratifying,
Yeah.
it is. Very gratifying.
Yeah, Brian, I'm sorry, I couldn't help but to think the 45 automatic weapons, that's like mafia type stuff, man.
Yeah,
that's the kind of stuff where you go, I
that's
don't want
another
any part
level.
of this.
Yeah, exactly.
Be looking over my shoulder when I start my car, that kind of stuff.
That's right. There was a flavor of that involved in that case.
Dang.
That's when you start to worry. Because, I mean, at the time, how many kids did you have? Do you remember?
I think at that point I had 3, maybe 4.
3 children. Now, how many children do you have?
9.
That is correct, folks. You did hear it correctly. That is 9 children. So the oldest to the youngest, right? And well, let's go to the next generation. So how many grandchildren?
We now have 20 grandchildren.
Wow.
And it's wonderful. You know how it is being a grandfather. It's wonderful. The old proverbial, you get to spoil them and send them home. It works great.
Hang on a second. Brian, are you old enough to have grandchildren?
Yes.
Oh.
I have
You look
one.
so young.
I have one, and on the way. Oh, you're so nice. Listen to this
You do
guy.
look young. You do look
Thank you very much. It's the blonde hair. It's the only thing I have going for
young. You
me.
handsome guy.
Okay, it's the blonde hair.
Blonde hair and the dimples.
When it
Look
turns
at
gray, then people aren't going to be giving me those compliments anymore. I might have to work on some kind of hair solution or something. So, wait, do you have great grandchildren?
No, not yet.
Not yet. They need those grandkids.
Dan's like Easy Buddy.
You're like, I'm not that old.
Don't push it too far here.
Sorry about that. So tell me about who inspired you. I guess, was there a person that inspired you, that kind of led you to the man that you are today, that kind of you think helped drive you to have this successful firm? Is there anybody that comes to mind that you could maybe tell a story about?
I probably my father. My dad was a minister, and I would watch the impact he had on people's lives through his sermons and through speaking and, imparting into their lives. And I remember at the age of 6, I used to carry a briefcase around.
That's
Great.
So I kind of had that in the back of my mind. I would like to pursue something like the law practice. But I think my father would be probably the most instrumental individual in that regard. When I got into law, Judge Ryan, who was also a general in the Air Force, was very influential. The years I was with Judge Ryan, he just really mentored me. I was in court every day with the judge, sit there as his clerk, and we would listen to the trials. We'd do 2 jury trials a day on many days. He really pushed it. And he would come back in chamber and say, Dan, here's what you should do. Here's what you shouldn't do. And those lessons were invaluable. And so after the years I was with him, it really did help my practice of law.
Why would you push to have more, just to be able to help more people? Why multiple jury trials in a day?
A great question, Brett. In the D.C. courts, it's really glutted. There's so many litigants that are waiting for trials, and they're backlogged. And Judge Ryan, being a general and very disciplined in that regard, would have jury trials a day just to move the backlog along and make sure we were able to move the cases, but also giving the people justice. He was very fair, but also very disciplined and very structured.
Huh, that's interesting. I would think if it were me, gosh, one would be enough. I'd be worn out by after one jury trial.
I know. I could only, I could only imagine. So now, what is the law firm grown to? How many attorneys that you guys?
We have 9 attorneys, and looking at hiring another to make it 10, and we have about 45 employees total.
Wow, that's great. That's from you and the first employee and your homemade desk.
That's correct.
That was your start. I love to hear that story. So
That's a real story. I mean, you actually literally made your own desk.
Made my own desk.
That's amazing.
2x4s. I bought an old tabletop from Singer Used Furniture for $5, put that on the top, took a door that went to the dining room, and a beautiful old door there in the house, laid it sideways. That was the front panels on the desk.
That is so
And I had curtains on the side.
do you still have the desk?
No,
Oh,
it's
you
gone
should have
by
kept
the way.
it.
I
You
should
still
have-
had the desk.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, Brian, we have a very special guest, Mr. Daniel Crandall. And I have a question for you. You've been such a prominent attorney in this. I've been in this market for 25 years. And as long as I've been here, I know you've been a top attorney. Did you just land at the top, or did you have to start at the bottom and work your way up? I know that you built your own desk, but maybe my question is, at what point did you rise to the top?
You know, it was really a progressive, I think, journey. Brett, we started, like we said, in our home, eventually took over the first floor of our home, then the second floor of the home, moved to the little office we built next to the Federal POF building there. We renovated the old Hall Confectionery building. We were there for several years. When they widened the road, then we went to built our new building. But so it was progressive. When we moved into the new building we're now in, it was so large we thought we'd lease out the second floor. But the old saying, build it and they'll come. And before I could lease it out, we had filled it up.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
So it was a lot of very rapid growth there for a period of time.
So I know you've done a lot of marketing in this area. Do you feel like the marketing was a big part of your plan? And did you start growing word of mouth, or did you pop right on with marketing? And we need to get this out, need to get the word out. I'm interested about your marketing strategy.
Yeah, thank you. We were one of the second attorneys in the area to market. We had one other attorney that marketed through television ads before us, and radio and so on. For a long time, it wasn't allowed, but they changed the rules. And yes,
You weren't allowed to advertise?
No television advertising at all for lawyers. It just wasn't permitted.
Interesting.
And so right about the time I moved here, they changed those rules. And I was fortunate to be able to be here at a time when I was growing my practice that we could advertise and market with television and radio.
Okay.
But it was a big part, you're right. The marketing that we did for the firm, I think, had a tremendous part in the growth that we saw for the firm.
Was there a time that you realized, and you're a very humble human being. You're a very very gentle man and very kind man. So I appreciate the humility and the humbleness. Was there a point that you realized I'm kind of become the go-to? I mean, I'm top of mind. People are calling me when they have issues.
That's a wonderful feeling. And yes, we started placing first in the Roanoke magazine, several times. I was the #1 attorney, the platinum for the area. And when I started seeing that, I said, hey, things are looking good.
Things are going well. Good.
Things are going well, and the community is accepting you,
Well, you've always had to constantly spend. I mean, a lot of business owners, I think, struggle. They come in for business advice, and they say, Brian, we want to grow our business and we want to sell in 5 years or 10 years because we want to retire eventually, right? We're 55 years old. We don't want to do this at 80, and then I look at their profit and loss and their income statement, and I see that 1% of their gross revenue is being spent on marketing or advertising of some kind. And typically anybody unless they have some amazing referral program, or they just have some uniqueness about it, right? Some kind of niche. They're not really growing typically. It's the people that are reinvesting back in their business at 5 to 10% or greater of their gross proceeds. So if you gross $1 million, you're spending $100,000, right? For simple math. And I haven't seen someone that continually puts back in their business and their business not grow. I mean, unless they just continue to throw it down the drain. But you know, I mean, you get on TV or radio, and back in the old days, it was newspaper. Remember that? The full page ads. And now it's digital advertising, and there's YouTube, and there's all kinds of social media that you can do now. But I think you probably had to make a decision. What made you make a decision at a point where you said, we're just going to take that money and reinvest it, and we want this money to continue to grow, right? Was that what it was, or did someone advise you? Who advised you to put the money back into the business?
It was a learned lesson over time, I think. I was approached by Channel 10, and they asked me if I wanted to do some advertising for my firm years ago, very early on, and I did. And I saw the results of marketing. I saw that, wow, the phones start ringing, and this is kind of nice, you know? So at that point, I just said, I'm going to take a certain amount and plow it back into the business and reinvest it for marketing and growing the business. And you can't be stingy. I think if you're going to grow a business, you have to sacrifice some in the beginning. You have to be willing to plow in those percentages into your marketing, sometimes even when it hurts a little bit, but it's necessary.
It's like, well, we don't have enough money to go on vacation, but we're paying for advertising.
That's it.
Well, and you seem to there's a get it factor, and you get it. The fact is that the type of law that you do, it's not an impulse buy type marketing. People don't hear you and go, you know what, I'm going to call Daniel. It's when they need you, you're top of mind because you stay consistent with your advertising. Yeah, that's right. And if that's learned, that's a great lesson that you could teach others.
Absolutely correct, Brad. Be out there, be top of mind.
Yeah, exactly. For sure.
Yeah. So I guess I'd love to know about, how, you've gotten to this. You built a successful law firm, and once you get there, in the beginning when you're not making any money, you're not paying any taxes, right? And and then you grow to this part where you start making money, you got to pay more taxes, and we'll get into some of the taxation of some of the personal injury settlements later. I want to kind of tease that for later because I think that's important. When people do get settlements, they don't understand how it works. I'm sure there's a lot of confusion with that. But I really want to hear the stories about maybe a difficult case that you really just has an impact on you that you can think back. Where a family was really hurt. Maybe it was just an individual or an entire family where you guys came in and you stepped and you helped them, and you just went the extra mile. And I feel like that the family appreciated it as well, right? That you don't have to say names or any of that, but I'm love to hear about how you help someone out of a difficult situation. And you don't have to give numbers on outcomes or anything. That's not the important thing here.
You mean, is there like one standout?
Yeah, like what's really the one that you go back to? I mean, there's always. I mean, I've got a few in my mind of clients that we've helped where they had this unique situation or nobody could help them, and you kind of stepped in there and helped, and it just made a difference, right? It made an impact on their life.
Sure, I'll be a little vague because I want to maintain the confidentiality of any of the cases. Of course. But we had a case fairly early on with it was a catastrophic loss. The couple was on a motorcycle and were hit by a truck and pole vaulted many feet into the air and came down. Our client, as a result of that, landed on the pavement on her head and sustained a significant brain injury. And when I saw the situation they were in when they came to us and the very hopeless, it seemed, situation, and because of the defendant, which ended up being a good defendant, because of the legalities of the defendant, we didn't know how much we would be able to do for her. But we were able to work through the immunities and all that, and finally we were able to reach a wonderful
Settlement.
Yeah, tremendous settlement for them and changed their lives. They were able to take that and buy a home and put it in trust so they would have an income for the rest of their life.
So over the years, have you worked with other attorneys, maybe outside the firm, that because someone goes from, let's say they didn't have, and I don't know what the family situation, maybe they didn't have anything, but to some where they now have, that can be a problem in some situations as well. It's like the average, lottery winner doesn't have anything in 5 years, right? How did you win $27 million? And I get it that 40% of it went to taxes, but where did the rest go?
They clearly didn't call Brian Bowen, now, did they? Just saying.
But yeah, I mean, have you over the years referred and tried to get professionals involved? I'm sure you have a team of people, right? We work with teams of people to help. You can't do all things to all people, right? So, I mean, maybe tell a story about how you help people once they get to that stage and they get this award. Now what?
I think that's a vital part of the whole process in helping people manage their finances. Whenever we have a high-figure, multi-million-dollar type case, we always try to work with the clients and put them in touch with a financial advisor. And we've seen over the years when you don't do that, the money dissipates so quickly. And so we'll always strongly encourage, and try to get the financial advisor in the case early so they can get with the client, build up a relationship with them. So when the proceeds do come through, they're ready to trust them with the investment of those proceeds. We had a case fairly recently where there were involved several deaths, and we were able to take a considerable amount of money and structure a trust so that they would have money to live on now and buy some things immediately. But for the rest of their lives, there would be a wonderful stream of income for the family.
Nice.
And it makes all the difference in the world. We've seen those cases where they've gotten $600,000. We had a young lady that this years ago, no names, but was on welfare and public assistance and received a significant hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it was gone after a year and a half.
Wow.
Because she wouldn't allow us to put it in trust for her.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, you two kind of have a lot in common, don't you?
Yeah.
Talking about trust and helping people with finances and such. Can you tell us a little bit about you? Because, I mean, you practice law and you're in the courtroom and you're fighting for people, but tell us a little about you. I'm a radio guy. What do you listen to music? Do you listen to podcasts? What do you listen to? What are your hobbies? Give us a little behind the curtain for Daniel.
Thank you, Brett. Because I have a number of children, 9 children and 20 grandchildren, a lot of my time is actually centered around them, getting together, having meals together on all the holiday occasions, everyone getting together. Typically we'll have close to 30 people a lot of times on the holidays with us, and it's just wonderful. So enjoying those grandkids and the children too. They're older, but it's wonderful, and that's probably takes up a lot of my spare time that I would have. Recently, a couple of years ago or so, my good friend bought himself a sailboat, and he's teaching me how to sail. So I enjoy that. He's down right off of Charlotte Harbor in Punta Gorda, and we just go down there and have a ball. So
are these single sailboats? Are they 2-person sailboats? And I'm a little ignorant to the sailboat.
Right. This is, I think, a 24-footer. So it's a nice size little boat. It has a little cabin in there, and it keeps us real. It takes two people to really sail it because it keeps you busy.
I bet.
Trimming the sails and raising the mast.
The jib and the
right.
Come on now.
Wow,
look
at you.
I know about sailing.
The jib or Genoa and the main sail.
There you go. And I know the starboard and what's the other one?
Come on.
Dang it. I can't remember.
Port
and starboard, yeah. So port is left, starboard is right.
Correct.
Yeah, got it.
You used to have a boat.
I know, but I was a fishing boat. It's got a motor on the back.
So Brett, a little bit about Brett. Brett's a big fisherman. Well, he used to be, I guess,
okay.
when you had your own boat.
Yeah,
right?
I miss my boat in my lake house. We sold it because we were only getting down there to mow.
Yeah,
so
right,
we just
Well,
weren't
you need to
using
come down and we'll take you fishing.
Please.
You can come and take our boat because it's not really a fishing boat, but you can fish from it, right? You can fish from any
If it
boat.
floats, I
If
can
it
fish
floats,
from it.
And I've been wanting to go fishing with him because every time I've fished, I don't catch anything, and it's no fun when you don't catch fish.
Sure.
Right, and honestly, it makes a huge because I used to go with my he was really my great uncle. He wasn't my uncle, but I called him Uncle Ted. Right, and we lived in Phoenix and Lake Havasu. You ever been out to Lake Havasu in Arizona? So Lake Havasu is on the Colorado River, and it's just south of the Hoover Dam. Kind of like Vegas, and it's a pretty big lake for the middle of the desert. It's so strange to see that much water in the middle of the desert. You drive for 3 hours and you don't see an ounce of water. And then all of a sudden there's this massive lake. But when my dad and my brother, we would go out, we'd catch no fish, none. And I hated fishing. And then I would go with Uncle Ted on his boat, and it was just one after another.
And then it became fun.
And then it's fun. I'm like, this is actually really enjoyable. But it was all about knowing where to go. Right. It was the knowledge. But he was the true epitome of a fisherman. He said there was 10,000 lakes. What is it? Is it Minnesota? The 10,000 lakes.
It sounds right.
I think it's their logo or motto, whatever, of the state. And he's like, I fished every single one of them. He was from North Carolina, said that southern accent. I fished everything. He probably didn't, but he's that's how much fishing it takes to get. And I think that leans back to you. You've done practice law for 45 years. If you look back at how you started, I mean, you've built your skill sets over those years, right? I guess, you've helped probably employees and associates and colleagues kind of coach them along the way. I mean, have you seen people that started out and tell a story maybe about that, of how you've helped a employee, or maybe somebody started out on their own firm, like what kind of, I guess, the mentoring that you may have done for people over the years?
Sure. Most of the mentoring has been with my own attorneys in the firm. They would come, and a lot of them wouldn't have a lot of or any personal injury experience. And getting back to what you were saying, Brian, to be able to specialize really helps your skill set. Mm-hmm. If you can zero in on one area of law and really try to master that, it really does help. Because you're not scattered, you're not doing domestic and bankruptcies and criminal. Right. You're doing one thing personally. Right. So you concentrate on that area of law, and it is very beneficial, I think. But part of that was, a new attorney would come in, and we would just take time and train them and work with them. My own niece in Virginia, you can actually read the law. So she graduated, I think, from UVA, and she said, I don't want to go to law school, but I would like to practice law. Can you help? So we let her come aboard, and we filled out the forms, and we were able to mentor her and actually let her complete her law school requirements with our firm.
Wow.
That's great.
I didn't know that was an option.
There's only, I think, 1 or 2 states that allow that. And today she's practicing law with us, and a tremendous attorney, just doing a great job. She's bilingual. She has kind of a Spanish section with the firm and doing a great job. So that, it was fun.
Does Virginia still allow that? Is that still?
I believe that is still allowed in Virginia.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I think that's still.
So that was, what's the movie Catch Me If You Can, where he went and have you seen that?
Yeah, right.
He passed the. You know what the movie I'm talking about, Brett. You haven't seen Catch Me If
DiCaprio?
Leonardo DiCaprio. He is, and it's based on a true story.
Fascinating
Story. And he was such a genius, a con artist, but he was a genius. And he went and sat for the bar with no law degree. I mean, he didn't go to some training. I don't think, did he even read? I don't know if he even read the exam book. Yeah, you got to watch that movie. You haven't seen it. And then eventually, so he was writing fraudulent checks. And he faked himself as a pilot and was literally flying. I forget what it's called when you get to, you get to fly on the commercial planes. It's not necessarily your plane that you're flying on.
Oh, yeah, right.
And he faked being a pilot.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I'll have to check it out.
And then he finally got caught.
Yeah,
There's the moral of the story. Don't do this. He finally got caught. And then he ended up helping his career. The second career was helping the FBI catch the fraudulent check writer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
I'll have to
he
check
knew
it out.
exactly what to look for.
He had plenty of experience.
Yeah, plenty of experience. So I guess we wanted to get into taxation a little bit. We talk about tax planning a lot. I guess it's because that's kind of our niche in the sense of we've got families that have done very well, whether they've owned their own business or real estate management or executives at companies, and they get to a point where you start accumulating all these assets, and then they go, I want to sell real estate. I want to sell my business, and I've got to pay taxes, right? And I don't want to just defer it and kick the can down the road. I kind of want to eliminate it or minimize it some way. And so I guess with, when people do get awarded a tax or the amount, and let's just use easy math, $1 million, right? Just for simple math.
This is somebody that got a settlement.
Well, no, yeah, I'm just saying, I want Dan to kind of talk about this a little bit, just because he's had to probably explain this to people, that the $1 million you're about to get is not, you are going to get $1 million, but there's another beneficiary. Right?
Uncle Sam?
Yeah, Uncle Sam, and if you're in Virginia, the Department of Taxation. Now, if you want to, happen to move to Florida real quick, get residency there tomorrow, no, you can maybe pay zero on state. So maybe talk about that when you're explaining to people, wait a second, it's not all mine. It's like the first time my kids got their first paycheck, and they're like, Dad, there's this guy taking, who's this FICA guy?
Yeah.
Who in the world is FICA? So anyways, talk about that with some, and you don't have to use specifics, but just, situations where, taxes takes a big chunk of everything.
It does, and it's a real consideration. Fortunately, the type of law I practice, personal injury law, when you receive an award, a verdict, or a mediation award, you take those proceeds, and if it's a significant amount, it really makes a difference in your life. What it is doing is it's compensating you for your loss. And so in the Internal Revenue Code, Section 104A2, it says that if you are compensated for a personal injury, you are just really meeting your base level. You're just being compensated for your loss, so it's not really income to you.
Right.
And fortunately, personal injury proceeds are tax exempt.
Right. Okay. I was not aware of that.
Which is very, very fortunate for these injured people. But there are a few exceptions. If you receive an award for punitive damages, punitive damages are different from compensatory damages in that it punishes the wrongdoer. Somebody that acts with indifference to the safety and life of others, or acts with malice, or acts willful and wanton in their actions, then you can get punitive damages as part of the award, and they can be significant. Punitive damages are taxable in the code because that's not just compensated you, but that's an income that you receive that you wouldn't have ordinarily had. It is limited in Virginia under 8.01, 38.1. In Virginia, it limits it to $350,000. We'd like to see that raised because if you have a significant compensatory case, you should have more punitive damages go along with it.
So to reiterate, that $350,000 is the amount that they're exempt from, and anything above that is taxable. Is that what you're saying?
They just won't know. They won't allow you to have an award of over more than $350,000.
Oh, you're saying no more.
Right.
Okay, so $350,000 is the maximum. Gotcha.
Right, maximum.
In punitive damages.
Yeah.
So, I guess most of it is then pain and suffering in a claim, right? It's basically what you're going. It's the big number that you're usually fighting for.
What you're looking at is the loss, like in a wrongful death case. It's the loss of that individual which you've suffered, and that's significant. A husband, a wife, a child. It's It's significant.
Right.
But they're looking at for these purposes, like in a loss, it's what you've actually suffered. You've had a scar. You've had disfigurement. You've lost a limb.
Right.
You've lost an organ, spleen or whatever. You try to come up with an amount that would be fair and bring justice to the situation on behalf of that individual. And so that money does not benefit them over and above where they were, but you're trying to put them back at baseline. And that's the theory behind it. But anything you receive above baseline is taxable.
Because if they're lost wages, it's interesting how they think lost wages are tax free, because if you earn let's say you were getting paid $100,000 a year, you had 30 years to live, right? Or 30 years of working time is probably what they look at, right? You're 35 and you're probably going to work to 65, and that's the argument. It would have been taxable, right, if you were working, but as the settlement, it's tax free.
That is correct. That's right.
It's a very interesting concept there that I wouldn't think that would happen. So, yeah, go ahead.
Just to respond to that, the lost wages are tax exempt. However, if you have a business loss and it's something that happened that was not directly connected to the injury, then that would be taxable.
That would be taxable.
And, it is under the code, but there's variations of that. It's a gray area. And I'd certainly talk to an attorney or a tax advisor or a financial advisor to see what you could do to eliminate or minimize those taxes.
So, my question is, Dan, what refers back to, since this show is about financial planning, our clients tune in. We've got prospective clients that listen. I've got business owners, multiple, and I always say, hey, listen to the show, and I learned this little tidbit. Maybe you can give a tip that you think, someone that has assets that's worked so hard for them for 40 or 50 years. I know you've got stories that you could probably tell, and maybe you could share one of somebody that maybe lost it all because they didn't have the right insurance, they didn't have the right asset protection in place. But if there was anything that you could give some just general advice on asset protection, and that's one piece of what we call the retirement blueprint that we touch upon, because I've seen business owners come in with millions of dollars in real estate in their personal name. Their business doesn't have even an operating agreement clearly delineating who is doing what and who owns what, and they have $300,000 worth of insurance on their cars, and they've got 10 employees driving around 1-ton pickup trucks. And I'm going, are you just asking for it, right? And so I guess, besides this, the quick answer is, well, hire someone that will do it all for you. What do you think is the big tip that you could give to our listeners to walk away? Because you've seen so many situations happen that have probably devastated somebody. What would be the big tip for our listeners that they could walk away with?
Brian, we all work hard for our money and to try to accumulate something. We want to have our life comfortable in our senior years, and we want our children to be able to inherit something that is most of our desires. And to do that, I think you have to listen to wise counsel. I think you have to get financial advice, and you have to go to someone that knows what you don't know. You think you know more sometimes than you do, but you have to go to someone that's a professional. And we've seen so many cases where people have gotten money, have not gotten financial advice, and squandered it, and it's gone in a matter of a year or two, or a couple of years, 3 years.
That's sad to see, too, isn't it?
It is very sad.
Especially when you're dealing with whatever you're dealing with, whatever the case involved.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
You really want to see them set up for success down the future.
And then on the flip side, we've seen those that have listened to our advice and they've sought financial counsel, and we've seen their lives so enhanced and so blessed by taking those assets and growing them and protecting them and having something that they can rely on in the years ahead. I think it's vital. We think it's just absolutely necessary. We had a case, we were in federal court a few weeks ago, and we were arguing for a trust that we had set up, and say, Judge, we'd like this to be able to be approved to place these funds in this trust and so on. And the judge was commending our firm for setting up the trust and working with the financial advisors.
Nice.
And
That's great.
and protecting the future interests of the client.
Right.
And I think it's a vital part of any plan is you have to get professional help.
Well, it really is more than just winning the case, isn't it? I mean, you take it the step further, don't you?
Yeah, you do, Brett. If you care about your clients and you want to see them really successful in what they've done and have the preservation of those assets, you have to take it the extra step. It's necessary to do that.
Well, because I think what I've gotten from people that have either inherited a lot or we've had people that have won awards before, and in fact, one of my first, probably the largest client, this is going back 20 years ago, was a young, I want to say she was 23, had one child. Her husband was in the Air Force, I want to say. This is really getting the cobwebs out here. I haven't told this story in a long time. But we had a little bit of money. I think her dad had placed something in a 529. So there was a little bit of a relationship, but more with the father, right? And I was as green as they came at that point, right? But what I did know is that she walks in the door, she's crying, and she says, "My husband just got killed. He got ran over." They went to Tempe, is where Arizona State University is, and it's where all the big parties and people driving drunk and everything. And a drunk driver, ran over and killed her husband. And she's just bawling. I couldn't even understand what she was saying. And she's like, "I'm going to get this money, and I don't know what to do with it," because they had the Air Force life insurance, and he had his own life insurance policy he'd gotten from somewhere. And it was a significant amount of money. I mean,
Good for him, by the way.
No, it was good. It was close to $1 million. And this is this might be 23, 24 years ago. That was a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
Now that lasts you a couple weeks, doesn't it? I mean,
right. Yeah.
But the point is that we couldn't get her to agree to put it in trust because we were trying to think of the child, right?
Sure.
Like, hey, let's set up some trust so we can make sure that your son is taken care of for college and maybe grad school, and you might have more children, so no one else is going to come in here. Well, all of a sudden, the dad was all for it. She wasn't. They didn't have to do that, but it was not a year and a half. And what happened is her deceased husband's best friend started getting cozy with her, and they eventually got married. A very quick wedding, and they were traveling all over the place and spending it. And I tried to talk her into some common sense of like, hey, let's put it in this, trust. Let's get we had a relationship with 2 or 3 attorneys in our little complex there in Glendale, Arizona. And I said, let's get them involved and we'll lock this up. And it was not a year and a half or 2, and it was gone. It was gone. And they were spending on these they called them business ventures. They weren't really doing any work. They were traveling and spending it, right? And buying nice cars. And it's expensive to travel, right?
Yeah.
And I guess, that's kind of the first thing I think of is that when we're building out a plan, it's when someone gets money, it's, I want to know how much return I can get. That's one of the first questions. What's the investment return? Because that's exciting to earn money, right? You have $1 million, you earn 7%, there's $70,000 a year, right? You got $3 million, there's $210,000 a year. You can live on $210,000 a year pretty nicely, right? If you don't have any debt. But what about protecting it when somebody sues you, right? Because of negligence. Maybe you didn't do it on purpose, but and your insurance is $300,000. Well, the insurance company's out pretty quick on $300,000 because that doesn't go very far if there was a loss of a life or a limb. I mean, that doesn't do anything anymore. So it's more about, what kind of insurances do you have? Your LLCs, how are they structured? Are you protected? Is your family protected? Is the legacy protected for the next generation, right? That's what it's really about. It's not necessarily about you, Mr. Jones. You have enough money to live on for the rest of your life, but if you want some of it to be passed on, right, let's look at all those details. And that's what we call the retirement blueprint, right, is going through those things. And we're getting clients from financial advisors, but they haven't asked them about looking at their will and trust. We'll do an estate plan and review for you. We just did 3 or 4 last month. And we're going, do you know who this person is, the trustee? Oh, yeah, that's my ex-brother-in-law. I don't want him in there. Well, you probably don't want him in there, right? Yeah. So we need to change this. I haven't looked at the thing in 20 years, you know. Yeah. And things change. It's the one constant in our life is change, right? And so I think that's where you look at everything you're doing, not just investments, not just to cut your tax bill down, but how am I going to protect my assets, right? To make sure that they actually go to my intended heirs, the children that I love, but the grandchildren that I really love.
So, Daniel Crandall, we just have a few minutes left. Can you tell us a little bit about your business? And I mean, people know you around here, but is there a message that you would like to give the listeners listening right now?
I would like to just say how thankful I am to Roanoke, the Valley in Southwest Virginia for honoring us to be able to help them over the years. For now 45 years, we've had some of the finest people come to those doors that have been hurt, and we help them in a difficult time in their life. And it's a privilege, and we're grateful for that, and we're thankful.
And so if someone needs to reach out to you, how do they find you?
Probably the easiest way is, of course, you can Google Crandall and Katt or 1-800-LAW-8000.
There you go.
And it looks like you can go to crandalllaw.com, right? And check them out there. A lot of testimonials on the website, which is fantastic to hear how people have been helped and their lives have been changed. But I think when I've read through some of these testimonials, it's interesting how they just talk about how they were professional, attentive, timely, and took care of everything. And I think that's the biggest thing I've found with a lot of law firms that I've worked before. The timely part is you don't get a call back. You don't get any more. You have to call them 2 or 3 or 4 times. Being to be able to be attentive, I think, is pretty important. So we really appreciate you coming on and telling the stories about how you've helped people and made a difference in people's lives, right? I mean, essentially, that's what you've done for the past 45, and you've obviously continued to. Your attorneys and the firm continues on to do that on a daily basis, and I love that story about. Is it Anna?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
That passed. That didn't go to law school.
Right, correct.
Right, and passed the bar. And that's an amazing story. I didn't know that was even a thing you could do.
That was a great story. Well, I've always heard that you're just a super kind man, and
that is true.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see that for myself. It's a pleasure to get to spend some time with you. So,
Brett, thank you so very much.
Thank you. If you want to reach Brian Bowen, he does.